Welcome to the SSN On Base podcast, where we're talking baseball, both MSU and everything about baseball. Here's your host, Rob Bennett.
Welcome, fans, to another special edition of SSN On Base. I am thrilled that you can join us here today. Special guests all around the table. I'd first like to welcome our MSU play-by-play extraordinaire, Scott Moore.
Thank you very much.
And, of course, his partner in crime, radio baseball analyst extraordinaire, professor, former coach, scout. Am I getting it all?
You're all right. You know that, Rob? That's good.
I appreciate that. Coach Jake Boss Sr., thank you for joining us today, as always. We've had you on for every single one of these, and we appreciate it. We're going to have a lot of fun today. And, of course, save the best for last.
Right.
Coach of the MSU baseball team, Coach Jake Boss Jr., thank you so much. I know it's a busy time for you. Thank you for joining us here today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. This will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be some fun, and I apologize ahead of time for whatever I might say or do, so I can get myself covered on that.
Just a blanket apology. I like that.
Yeah, just all out. So first I want to kind of talk to you guys, senior and junior, of course. Talk to you guys so fans maybe get to know you a little bit better before we get into all the X's and O's for Michigan State baseball, and there's a lot to talk about that. I have a question for you, and Scott, you can jump in on this too.
Okay.
So I'm going to put you guys right on the hot seat right away.
Right away.
Okay. Best advice you got from each other. And then, Scott, you've been around the baseball program quite a while now. You know these guys quite well. Best advice you got from both or either one of them.
Okay.
Well, whoever would like to go first. Yeah, I'm putting you right on the pins here.
Go ahead. I'll defer to Senior
my
here.
Goodness. The best advice I've gotten from my
Junior
son.
I might be able to answer that one a little bit better, don't you think?
Not that he hasn't given me advice, because he has. And boy, that's really hard. That's really hard to pinpoint, man. But just. There's a lot of things that he does that I wish I were still coaching, okay, at the high school level even, okay, and that I see him doing that I wish I would have done that, the way he does it. But in particular, it's hard to kind of pinpoint. But I certainly would be doing many things that I see Jake and his staff, how they conduct practice and how they're working with kids and so forth. I certainly would implement many of those things into my program.
Well, yeah, I think, for me, obviously a father gives his son advice, probably on a daily basis. So I've got an awful lot of it from my dad, but I think, the one that sticks out is probably when I was packing up my car to leave East Lansing 20-some years ago to move out to Iowa and work at a junior college out there for 2 years. And I don't remember exactly what was said, but the gist of it was you better go out there and work hard and make this trip worthwhile, because I was leaving a teaching job here and a lot of security for a lot of unknowns and not a whole lot of money, but in an attempt to get a college coaching career started. And he basically kind of pulled me aside and said, look, you better make this, work hard and make this happen. Don't waste your time out there. So
I think for me, it's not so much advice, but I can tell you this: in a season and a half now of working with Senior, I've learned more about the game of baseball than I had learned in 53 years before then. Just being able to sit there and listen to the insight that he gives during games, about the game itself and about the way you approach the game from a hitter's standpoint or even from a fielder's standpoint. It's fantastic for me. Just to sit there and absorb all that information. I've talked with him. I said, if I had the time available during the fall, I would love to take this guy's class.
Absolutely,
because
we
I
definitely
think
talked
that would
about
be
that.
great.
Yeah, I wish I had that class when I was in college for sure.
He grades on a curve, so I think you'd be all right.
Oh, okay. Well, even better.
Right.
Even better.
Even better.
Let me ask you this, Senior, real quick before again we get into the actual X's and O's and how good this team is playing right now. When you found out that your son was getting into the college realm of things for baseball, what was your first reaction, and how did you feel about that originally?
Not very good. I did not feel very good about that at all. As a matter of fact, when he came to my wife and I and said, or he came to me and said, Dad, he says, I want to coach at the collegiate level. And here we are. He's got a full-time teaching job at Weberville High School, and he's got security, he's got benefits. He's the head coach. He's running his own program, and I'm thinking, why would you go into the world of the unknown and leave all that behind? And I was speaking, really selfishly because I wanted him around.
Sure.
Sure.
And then we talked about it. We prayed about it, and he decided that this was what he wanted to do, and he left with our blessing and with our full support, and took off for Iowa. And when he left, it was like I lost my best friend. Yeah. I mean, when he left, Iowa was about a 10-hour drive from. I mean, it's not something that you go on. Well, let's go see Jake. Friday afternoon, come home Saturday or whatever. I mean, you don't do that. Yeah. And so, in that respect, it was tough. But at first, I was totally against him getting into the collegiate level of baseball.
It's worked out, though.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah. Coach, when did it dawn on, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to go for? What triggered it for you?
Well, I had taught for a year and a half at the high school level and coached, and obviously loved the coaching part of it. I taught English and social studies, and for me, about halfway, 3/4 of the way through the school year, I didn't care for it anymore. I love the kids. We had good kids. I just didn't like my day kind of being governed by that bell. I felt like I was waiting for that bell to ring, every 55 minutes or whatever.
Just like some of the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, I didn't care for that a whole lot. It got old to me. And people that teach for, 30 years and make a career out of it, I give them a lot of credit. And because for me, that was awfully difficult. And I just remember thinking, I can't see myself doing this for the next 30 or 35 years. And so at the time, I thought I was young enough. I was unattached, and if it didn't work out, I could always come back and get back into the classroom. But, so at some point toward the spring, maybe toward the end of the year and even into the summer, I started looking around at the NCAA news for different coaching, gigs, and had no idea what the whole process entailed. Had no idea how difficult it was to get in the door. It worked out in August where I had an opportunity to go out to Iowa to a junior college out there. And a man by the name of Rick Sanquist was basically starting a program out there and said, we think we're going to be pretty good. And he had a lot of passion and enthusiasm for what he did. And he sold me on it. And thankfully, we had a pretty good ball club out there. Otherwise, it would have been a long 2 years. But I would agree. I think it's worked out okay.
Yeah, it's worked out just fine. All right, let's talk a little X's and O's. Let's talk about Michigan State baseball and where you guys stand right now. Doing quite well. Really, you could say over the past 2-3 weeks, this team has really come around together as a unit. I'm talking pitching, which has been good throughout the season, but you see the offense really coming around and the defense steady. What has been the key, I would say, I'm going to ask all three of you, in your views, what has been the key for the all-around good play for this team these last couple of weeks, it seems?
Well, for me, Rob, I think, just being able to get into a rhythm in practice outside, on our field and kind of get into that rhythm of playing every day. or doing something on the field every day, because I think we take that for granted sometimes. We're so used to getting ready in the cold and getting ready indoors, and you at the beginning of the year you leave on a Thursday, you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you come back, you practice inside Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you leave again, and it's hard to get into a rhythm. We're going all over the country, different places, and that can be really difficult, especially on the hitters. I think it's it's tough to really get into a groove. But I think when you look at the schedule and the calendar, I think we really started to play well once we were able to settle into things. I thought we played pretty well at Ohio State. Unfortunately, we weren't able to win that series, but you could kind of see things starting to turn a little bit. And after that series, we played two midweeks, I think, at home the next week, and got a chance to practice on our field, and had Illinois come in, and I thought we played well, that weekend too against a very good ball club.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't win that series. But then, you could just kind of sense and get a feeling that, our hitters were starting to get into a bit of a rhythm. And the pitching has been good, like you said. The defense has been good, and so. But I think that played a big part in it, and hopefully it continues.
Scott, what do you think?
Oh, I think I wasn't with the team when they were in that first part of the season, all the travel and all that. I picked it up after that Ohio State series.
You were busy with hockey.
I was busy with a hockey team, exactly. And the story that I had heard was that this team can pitch, but hitting is a process, and it was not there yet. And, from the first game at home, it's been double digits in hits just about every game. And I'm looking at it going, okay, if these guys can't hit, who can? Because they've been hitting. And at first, they weren't getting the timely hits.
Yeah.
And now that's coming along as well, as you saw on Tuesday night down in South Bend, with getting those timely hits when they needed them, whether it was a single here or a home run there.
Right.
So the hitting, and part of it, Coach, I think we've talked about this. Hitting can be contagious.
No question.
One guy starts to hit, and the next guy starts to hit.
Yeah, guys start to feed off of each other. When guys start to have some success, when you get a big hit. Drives a couple runs in or something like that.
Sure.
It kind of gives you some momentum, and then it can snowball. And fortunately for us, I think that's what's happened. So again, we got 10 games to go, and hopefully we can kind of ride that out here in the last 10 in the regular season.
Sure. Senior, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you can emphasize enough, picking up on what Jake said about being outside and getting into the routine of practicing outdoors and hitting outdoors. That is really, I think, is crucial. And I think that's why you see such an advantage that the Southern teams have over the Northern schools, and that they're outside in January, and makes a big difference. But like Scott said, we're starting to see some timely hitting now, and I think at the start of the year, if somebody scored 3 runs against us, I'm thinking, how can we win this ball game? How can we score 4 runs? We can't do that, and I think that was true for a portion of the season to begin with. But boy, since then, about a month. For about a month now, it's just taken off like crazy, and I think that's part of the reason what Jake was alluding to.
And some of it too is confidence, and that trip to Oregon really built the team's confidence. I think the chance to get away and get together and win 3 games against a really good team at their place. Because it seems to be a different team since then.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we went down to Eastern Michigan and I think took them for granted maybe a little bit. Sure. And they handed it to us, and that was kind of a wake-up call. And, practice the next day wasn't a whole lot of fun for guys, but I felt a lot better after practice was over, I can tell you that. But, I think it kind of helped us refocus a little bit. And, we're below 500 at that point. Did not play well at all at Eastern Michigan. Going out to Oregon, and it's it's tough to win on the road. It's tough to win on a road against a good opponent, and then you have a top 25 team in Oregon with a beautiful facility and hosted a super regional a couple years ago. I mean, that's so the expectations for us going out there weren't a whole lot. We just wanted to try to go out and play well, and I think that was part of the reason that we were able to kind of sweep that series. We weren't thinking about winning. We weren't thinking about anything other than let's try to get the ship right here and just go out and play well and let's see what happens. And that happened. And before you know it, we win an extra inning game on Friday, and then it kind of rolled on Saturday and Sunday, and it's been kind of rolling ever since.
Well, we've talked when we've done interviews here for our website. I've talked to you many a time, Coach, and we talk about senior leadership and how important that is, and you can't emphasize that enough. And the seniors have really, especially during this time, probably Oregon on, have really stepped up and really led this team on and off the field quite well.
Yeah, they really have, and I think you look at a guy like Ryan Krill, who's an extremely talented young man who maybe, has kind of struggled the last, he had a good freshman year. His sophomore and junior years were a bit of a struggle for him, and then he struggled early this year, and then, hit a big home run at Ohio State, and I think that kind of is where things started to turn for him. And he's been our best guy, really, ever since that point. And, it's good to see him having success. He changed some things with his approach and how he approaches each at-bat, and that seems to have worked off and paid dividends. Mark Wiest is another guy who's hits in the middle of our order. And
big home run the other night?
Yeah, big home run the other night. And, he's really swung the bat well for us. A bit of an unknown coming in because – he transferred and had to sit for a year last year, and he's only got 1 year of eligibility. But, yeah, our seniors have got to be the guys that lead us, and it seems to be somebody different, which is a good thing, obviously. But it's somebody different almost every day. And where Blaze Salter was really hot early, he's struggling a little bit right now, and we're still able to put up some big numbers because the other guys are kind of picking him up and kind of rallying around him and picking up the slack there. So Blaze is going to get going here, soon. I'm confident in that. And then, if somebody else struggles, that's the beauty of what this ball club has been able to do. I think it's, they're from top to bottom now. We feel pretty good about the guys that we're running out there.
Yeah, the other thing too, and I've heard you speak about this as well, but and Tom Izzo, that a player coach team is the one that that you're really hoping that you have, because those are your most successful ball clubs, and I think that's turning out to be true with this ball club, and and talking to Jake, what he's observing with the kids, in the dugout and off the field and so forth. And I get an opportunity to speak to the kids as well. Sure. And, I was talking to one of them yesterday again, Tony Checky, trying to encourage him, going through his difficult times here with his injuries and so on and so forth. And when I told him how proud you were of him and the things that he was doing in the dugout, I mean, he lit up like a Christmas tree. And it's true, what he's doing with some of these younger players is really incredible. And I mean to single him out just because I spoke to him yesterday, but there are others like Krill and that are doing that type of thing. And I think that's just man, when you have that, you end up in every ball club that you have, you want those kids to play for each other and not for themselves. And I think that's what happens when you get that kind of senior leadership or player leadership.
You talk about the player-coach team. The best example that I can think of is the second game of the Northwestern series, where things hadn't gone real well in Game 1. And then there were a few errors early on in Game 2, and you've told me it wasn't what the coaches were doing in the dugout. It was the players that generated that whole turnaround.
That's right. It really is. And, that, you look at moments during a season, and I think that was one of them. I think if you go back to the Eastern Michigan game, like I said, down in Ypsilanti, Ryan Richardson is our shortstop for the last 3 years. He's a great kid. He doesn't say a whole lot. He's not a real rah-rah type of guy. But after that game, he made a statement to the team that, basically what was happening is not okay. And for him to come out and do something like that, I think really spoke volumes for what was happening, and for the younger guys to see, this guy doesn't say maybe a whole lot, but if he's speaking up now, then yeah, we got a problem and we need to get it straightened out. And he made it a big deal, and he, along with a lot of other guys, again, that's when things started to turn around, I think, for us.